Hi, everyone. I'm Associate Provost for Faculty Development and Professor of Resource Economics, Angela de Olivera. I'm happy to be joined today by Mark Pachucki, Advanced Team Leader for Research and Professor of Sociology. Mark has been researching the COVID-19 impact statements and is deeply involved with the guidance being created for the impact statements, which will be integrated into faculty success. So, Mark, what is an impact statement?
Thanks for inviting me. I'm happy to be here with you today. An impact statement, very briefly, is a chance for faculty members to describe how any external circumstance beyond their control has affected their work. It could be a paragraph, it could be several paragraphs, whatever makes the most sense to you as a faculty member. Many of us wrote these during the pandemic, but there's a key difference today that I should mention. A good metaphor to use is that when COVID-19 hit, all of us were in the same storm, but in different boats. From our analyses of how faculty wrote about pandemic impacts, we saw, for instance, that women full professors were stretched especially thin. We saw a lot of people documenting loss and grief, both in terms of people in their lives, but also losses of opportunities. We saw that faculty have emotional and physical reserves that can be tapped out and difficult to replenish. The impact statements that we're here talking about today recognize that many different things are happening in faculty members' work lives that are affecting each of us differently.
So for our faculty and librarians, do you have to write an impact statement? And if you do, what sort of things, or if you choose to write one, what sort of things do you write about?
Great question. Impact statements are completely voluntary. No one has to write one. You can disclose what you want to. However, the Office of Faculty Development and the UMass Advanced team takes the position that every single faculty member should take the time to write one. And here's why. The first is that it's not that much extra time to do this important documentation. You've been affected in this last year in ways that you are recognized, and they might be front of mind for you, but it's going to help readers of your annual report or promotion dossier understand the specific context that you worked in during the prior year. You have the chance to document the additional workload that you've experienced and perhaps unexpected contributions that you've made, given changes that have been happening in your work life and in your academic discipline. There may be ways that you've been able to pivot in your work due to outside circumstances, but there might be places that that hasn't been possible. You get to help your readers of your AFR understand exactly why that is.
So let's take just a moment and show faculty and librarians what they're going to see in this.
Okay, when you are ready to add your impact statement, you are going to log into the Faculty and Librarian Success portal. Go to My Profile, where you're going to be able to see all of your different activities sections. We're then going to scroll down until we see Impact Statement. Go ahead and select that. If you have prior impact statements, you would be able to see them here. If not, then it's going to be blank here with no data to display. We're going to go ahead and add new. Remember that in this system, everything is going to need to have a year in order to show up in the your AFR or your ALR for the year. For this particular example, we're going to go to academic year, and we're going to use 2025-26. You should do your impact statement for whatever year it is that you are reporting. You can then enter whatever it is that you'd like to say. For this example, I'm just going to say that there were disruptions to federally funded research. It's your choice what you want to share and the extent of the detail. If you are writing this impact statement just for your own recollection or reporting, and you do not want it included in your AFR or your ALR, then you would check this box that says that you do not want those included. If you do want it included in your AFR or ALR, you would not check the box, and then go ahead and save that once you're happy with it. You're then able to go back to your main profile and continue going on with your work.
So, Mark, now that we've seen how faculty and librarians are going to enter their impact statements, do you have any tips or advice on how they should write them?
For right now, what we will encourage you to do is to include things like perhaps how you've been impacted by federal funding disruptions and executive orders, perhaps how your particular research area or creative activity area has been explicitly targeted or marginalized. You might talk, for instance, about how your mentoring and teaching has been impacted. There might be long-term impacts of reductions in graduate student funding or admissions, but you may have already had to restructure how you run your research group or lab. You should include any invisible or undervalued service contributions that you do for your department, university, or field, or perhaps impacts to your physical and mental health, or caregiving responsibilities you may have to partners, parents, siblings, children, or friends. You might have been impacted due to your immigration status and had concerns about not just doing your job on campus, but traveling for conferences elsewhere because of concerns about reentry. Things of that nature are all legitimate impacts that you should consider including, but everything is optional. You don't have to self-disclose anything that you don't want to.